Vibe consulting is by far and away going to be the next billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar industry. And before I dive into the document explaining all the steps and what it kind of really means, I want to give you a very small amount of context before I dive in. So you might have heard of companies like McKinsey, Deloitte, and companies like that, which are the biggest consulting firms in the world. And just for an idea of context, they're anywhere from $20 billion to $60 billion a year in revenue. And these companies were mainly born out at the turn of the century because of inefficiencies they saw in different markets, whether it was engineering, manufacturing, accounting, and stuff of that nature. These companies have now gone on to be, like I said, multi-billion dollar firms. The top 3 or 4 is like Bain, McKinsey, Deloitte, and things like that. And the reason Vibe Consulting is the next big thing, and rather than it being some woo-woo rubbish that you've heard before, it's just capitalizing on exactly what they did at the turn of the century, but we're now entering a new century, which is the AI revolution, not the industrial revolution. And the power of this is that it basically doesn't matter what sector you've been in previously. You are going to be able to capitalize on that experience and like what you have done to become a vibe consultant in that market. So we are very much, it's not just like, hey, I'm a consultant or digital marketing or, and like, because I did manufacturing or supply chain, it's not relevant to me. It's like, no, it's absolutely relevant to you. If anything, I would argue it's more relevant to you because there's even less people in the market doing it, right? Because it's so antiquated. So I really want you, this is going to be a little bit of a longer video, but I'm really going to dive into like all of the nuances of exactly what vibe consulting is, how we're breaking it down, all the different components of it, and how you can scale yourself a very, very, very nice business. All right. So let's dive in. So the vibe consulting model is definitely the simplest path to 500K, right? Like the model you choose really dictates your time, energy, and ultimately the results you get. And although it's not the biggest decision in your life, it is one of the closest to the biggest decision. The vibe consultant is very prominent to right now, and this is just exploding literally as of you watching this. This is the early adopters stage. But like I said, we are capitalizing on a market that we know is a multi-billion dollar market, and it has proof, right? So vibe consultants are intention lean and they're AI powered, and they build on that traditional consulting space. So, you heard of other terms like maybe AI consultants or transformation partners is a very common one in the consulting space, but you're going to be different. You're a vibe consultant. And the reason we're using the word vibe is this terminology has encapsulated basically this leveraging of AI to the extreme. So you've got vibe coding, which is now huge. You've got all these people building crazy apps that are selling for mad money. You've got people vibe marketing, which is like automating the marketing side of it. So vibe consulting is understanding what AI is capable of doing and then basically going into people's businesses and exposing them to inefficiencies. And then you also leveraging AI to fulfill on that. So you are like 10xing your output to, the market, right? So let's go into some time and value kind of constraints here. So you get to work with businesses you like, right? You get to charge premium rates because you're charging based on impact. You're not charging based on hours. You also get to amplify the amount of work you do because you are also leveraging AI. This is a core tenet of being a vibe consultant is you are leveraging AI to the nth degree also within your business. So you have huge amounts of capacity, right? You are therefore going to build a business that scales and you are not going to burn out because you're just going to do the stuff you like. So this translates into quality clients is the non-negotiables, quality clients, premium pricing, AI delivered delivery. Your essentials are systematic auditing approach and then proven frameworks. And then your flow is predictable revenue from high value engagements after. Okay. So the vibe consultant world has very, 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 very high rates of leverage, right? So all the inputs are intentional and does not require you to work 60, 80 or 100-hour work weeks, which are famous in the consulting world, right? If you talk about anybody that does McKinsey or Deloitte or anything, they always brag about 100-hour work weeks. We ain't doing that, and we're making a lot more money. But, this is where you build on your expertise and your reputation. So the blueprint, let's dive into like what this actually looks like from more of a tactical standpoint. So the common approach when building a business is, and learning AI, is to like look forward, hey, I need to learn to do AI to then be able to implement it. And this is flawed because you don't know the variables, and there's a bunch of variables along each stage because you don't know where you're going. So the best plan is to actually build backwards. So you say, this is what I'm going to be doing, and then we build back from that point. So looking forward is super chaotic, too many variables, and looking back is much more methodical and proven, right? So at a strategic level, you're going to master the Vibe audit framework. And this is going to enable you to go into businesses and identify $50, $100, $500,000 of opportunities that you can help solve by implementing AI within their businesses. You are then going to charge 10% of that to basically do the full audit. So early doors audits, just so you can build your own confidence, I'm going to get you to charge $5,000 to $10,000, right? Then you can either fulfill this work yourself. So if you are a savvy developer, you understand AI agents, you understand platforms like N8N, you can then go ahead and actually implement and make much more money. But for the vast majority of people, that's not applicable. And that's why we have a partnership network with these AI agencies who will then go in and actually implement all the changes that you found within the audit. Okay. Then from that point, as you build more confidence, you're going to increase the size of the companies you're going after, and you're going to increase how much you charge per audit. 25, 50K. I know people are charging over $80,000 now for audits, right? So this is literally how simple it is to do. Audit framework, complete first audit, deliver with partnerships, scale to premium audits, and repeat. And the loop goes on. So we're going from a learning system of 5K to 50K plus engagements, and we use these three systems. So we've got the Vibe discovery method, we've got the opportunity matrix, and the implementation pipeline. So the discovery method is understanding the hidden inefficiencies that are worth hundreds of thousands to these companies. It's the opportunity matrix, which is presenting those inefficiencies in a way that the client can't refuse. And then the implementation is at the end of that, you're going to find that they're going like, hey, can you just do this for us? And it's not even a sale. It's like they just go, hey, can we do these? And you're like, yeah, of course, right? So each of these systems, drive each other, and you master one at a time, and you keep going down, right? So the Vibe brand, experience matters exponentially more than followers, right? So you don't need a technical background like I touched on earlier. The more diverse your experience, so like I said, if you came from logistics, supply chain management, warehousing, racing, it makes no difference. You have a competitive edge because you actually understand the inefficiencies of the roles you were in and the industry you were in because you were in it. So the myth of needing to be a tech expert is exactly that. It's just a myth because you're not having to do the stuff anyway. You might want to in the future, which is totally understandable. You're going to make a lot more money, but you don't need to. So you need to understand the business problems, and you need to understand if they are solvable with AI, and then how you can solve them. Nothing more. It's really that simple. So a brand is the thing people say about you when you're not there. You will live rent-free in that person's head. And if they associate you with this AI-powered business transformation, you being this Vibe consultant, you are going to live rent-free in their head. The end point of a brand is to promote action. So you want them to take an action. So your brand consistently demonstrates AI expertise and business results. It's incredibly easy for clients to hire you. It's just like a natural next step in the whole process. So the ideal brand does all the selling, and that comes over time of you getting consistently better and doing more results and sharing about it, which I'm going to touch on in a second. So when an audit opportunity arises, you will become the obvious choice. Creating a brand like this is not easy, but it is simple. So there's three components: the world you build, the identity you craft, and the mechanisms you use. So inside of the world you build, there are case studies, there are frameworks, the languages, there's the success stories. When this world's in motion, people can't help but pay attention, right? You become that obvious choice. Then the identity is who someone becomes when they work with you. So they go from being an overwhelmed, low profit margin business to being an AI optimized, high profit margin business. And then the mechanisms is your proprietary methods, the ones that I'm giving you, the Vibe discovery method, the opportunity matrix, the audit frameworks, right? The brand can be successful with just one of these components, but the best ones have all three, okay? So in order of fastest to slowest in terms of ROI. So one, define and sell your mechanism. So the way you identify AI opportunities, the only defining characteristic of your mechanism is that it needs to be unique to you. It matters much more than actually what it does, believe it or not. And the underlying methodology just must work, right? So it just actually must deliver the result. The underlying methodology does not need to be original. Everyone thinks they've got to reinvent the wheel. You absolutely do not. You can just rewrap a wheel that we know works. But it must be positioned as uniquely as possible to enhance, basically your experience. So the vibe discovery method is a systematic stakeholder interviews plus process mapping, so just interviewing different people in the org to understand their processes. The opportunity matrix, which is impact versus effort analysis for AI implementations. And the implementation pipeline is curated network of development partners that you can use to basically fulfill on the things you highlighted within your audit. Or, like I've said many times, you can do it yourself. I didn't invent business auditing. Like I said, turn of the century, Deloitte, I think, was 1845 or something. They started consulting. There will have been consultants many, many decades before that too. I've now repackaged it into a new mechanism around the AI era. And this is why this isn't an opportunity that's going to fade away in a year or 2 years. This is going to be here for the long term. I can guarantee you now, these big firms, 1,000% guarantee, are trying to figure out how they can do this, but they're so old and antiquated, they're just not agile enough. The market really belongs to people like you who can come in and have vertical expertise and then just go out and hit it hard. Trust me, these companies are gonna be doing some crazy stuff. They'll be buying these vibe consulting firms. I guarantee you that. So you don't need many mechanisms at all. You just need one. All right. So craft an aspirational story. Identity manifests in a core question. Who does someone become when they hire a vibe consultant? Who do they become? What do they get? Who do they become? Right. Your ideal characteristics, do they attain on an operational and financial level? If we see business transformation as a transaction with efficiency, then you can use metrics to define it. So time saved, cost reduced, revenue increased, universally valuable currencies, all of those, right? Every business loves all that. Crafting an identity steers prospects through problems towards solutions. So selling them on what their business can become if they invest in the AI opportunity. And then part 3 is building that world. So building the world around them demonstrates and the dramatization of the results you create, right? It's an abstraction to a varying degree of your client's successes. So how much of that extraction is personal preference? But if you get too far away from it, you're playing a character, and playing a character is ultimately exhausting. There must be substance to the world you've built. It can't be a fairy tale because, as we all know, fairy tales always end. So the core components of the world you're building are case studies, so who you've helped and how, the language, so the unique terminology, stuff like vibe audits, AI leverage, etc., frameworks, your proprietary methods and processes. So the world is communicated through success stories, which is consistently sharing the wins, and frameworks, which is consistently communicated methodologies. So let's dive into the vibe stack. So we've set up the platform. Now you need offers to monetize and deliver. So this is an audit-driven model, as we've discussed. To generate clients, we can break this into basically 4 key phases, which is a lead, is someone who's interested in AI business optimization. You got a prospect, someone who is engaged with our audit offer. A client is someone who we have delivered the audit for, and then the partner is someone who we have an ongoing relationship with. So we might be delivering the development services or consulting services, which I'll be touching on in a little bit here. So to obtain a client efficiently, we must demonstrate competence at each stage. So for a client to hire us, we must understand their pain and demonstrate our solution. The fastest way to understand pain and demonstrate solution is through a paid audit. Fact, by far and away, it's just the best. Get someone to pay you to diagnose their business. For someone to pay you for an audit, you must demonstrate you can identify opportunities that they are not able or capable to do by themselves. That is the point. So the core is this. There's 4 core reasons businesses are going to hire a vibe consultant: increase revenue, reduce costs, improve efficiency, or a competitive advantage. So you can solve for multiple cores, but I would lead with one. So I personally like the increasing efficiency, reducing costs, and then a byproduct of that, because they will see 40 to 60% increase in operational efficiency and capacity, so more money just basically going into their pocket. Revenue obviously increases and they have more of a competitive advantage. These are just natural byproducts, but I like focusing on these to start. So validating this in your market. So which of these 4 things are you going to solve for a client? What's the main inefficiency you have identified within the market? How does that inefficiency show up in their daily operations? Are they aware that this problem even exists? And what are they currently doing to solve this problem? So these are these questions are an exercise in understanding. It's not a test. Any confusion around your core will bleed into the audit, delivery, pricing, and the calls, right? It'll just create confusion. So I want to run through some very, very, very basic math here. To get to 400K a year, 500K a year is underselling this, but I want to run through it. So it's $41,667 a month. So if you performed 2 audits a month, that's it, at $10,000 an audit, even if you said $5,000, but let's say $10,000 an audit, that's 20K. Let's say you do the implementation and you close that and it's 30 grand and you get 12% of that, that'll be $7,200, right? Because you've got to give the rest to obviously the development partner. You were making $27,200 a month, which is $326,400 annually. And if you just did 3 audits a month instead of 2, you'd be at $490,000 annually. Now, if you want to play around these numbers and say, hey, I'm only going to charge 5K, right? You would still be doing $17,200 a month, right? Which would be just under 200K. But then if you said, actually, I feel confident that I could actually do the implementation of a lot of these workflows, which candidly, a lot of you will feel that level of confidence very quickly, because you are going to gain such market expertise, and because you know the industries and how you've solved them for previous clients, you're going to have a lot of these workflows already built out and you're going to be able to deliver the vast majority of it yourself. Therefore, rather than you going to getting 7,200, you're actually going to basically get 30 grand, right? So from this same thing, you'd be getting 50K a month and you'd already be at 600, right? So 2 to 3 audits per month is all you need to hit your numbers. And this math works because audit pricing is based on value, not time invested, okay? This is a very clear distinction between the old way of consulting and Vibe consultants. So a $10,000 audit should identify at least $100,000 plus in cost savings, and that's what make it just a total no-brainer investment. So implementation partners are like obviously a bonus revenue, and it will just help compound and put more money in your pocket. So we're going to choose pricing that maximizes audit conversion and the implementation opportunities on the back end to actually do the work that we've highlighted. So $10,000 audits convert businesses who are ready for AI transformation, right? That's what the issue is. If you do really cheap audits, you're going to attract more tire kicker style people who aren't necessarily going to do the work, where you can charge them high implementation fees. So the AI, the Vibe audit, traditional consulting sells recommendations at hourly rates, which is what I just touched on. While it's simple, it caps your income and commoditizes your expertise. So the Vibe audit addresses this by selling outcomes, not time. So simplicity is having one core offer, which is exactly what we have. There is a useful distinction between offers and services that is rarely made though. A Vibe audit is a single offer with multiple potential outcomes hidden inside it. We audit a business for AI opportunities with clear deliverables and timelines. Those who want the implementation can engage with us, and then we'll engage with our partner network, or we could just send them directly to a partner and just take a cut off the top. Those who want ongoing optimization can engage with our consulting services, and so you can include that. Like what you basically, you can include only what is required to identify the present opportunities. The key is to have a process that allows for higher engagement beyond the initial audit. So your audit offer is the entry point, but you are going to be able to build longer term relationships with all of these companies. So audit creation using the 3P method. Okay. So these are 3 principles you start your audit with your audit construction. So one is promise and plan to drive the audit. The audit lives and dies by the first conversation. So clearly articulate the promise of what gets identified in the plan and how it unfolds. Allows the prospect to see the value in the commitment and in working together. This is distinct from the logistics of how the audit is actually delivered. So no one cares about how many interviews you're going to conduct until they understand the result, and that is what comes through with the promise and the plan. So match the right price, matches to the right price, and you are 80% of the way there on your high converting offer. So promise looks like this. What opportunities will you identify? What can you point out for concrete outcomes? Can you describe what they will see in their business after implementation? Can you articulate their potential savings better than they can? And what are the problems you are helping them avoid in the future? So then the plan looks like this. What's going to happen in week 1? What's going to happen in week 2? What are the deliverables they receive? Have you painted a clear picture of the entire audit process and like what they are getting? And clear beats clever always. Name your methods, don't overcomplicate it. And then price. Is there a clear ROI from what you're delivering? Have you made it easy to say yes? And does your price factor in cost of inaction, which is like a very, very, very important point here. So no one wants to sit through 20 interviews and 50-page reports. More audits fail because they're overwhelming than lean, right? So telling people what's in an audit is more likely to kill demand than enhance it. So implementation, here's your implementation checklist. Are you clear about your core value proposition? Have you decided what discovery, analysis, and presentation to include? Does your audit have a promise, plan, and price with clear ROI in it? So the audit validation. You now have a first draft of an audit offer. Your goal is to get the offer in front of 10 people in the next week, couple of weeks. Shouldn't be difficult, and get 3 sales from that. During that time, you'll be listening intently for feedback from prospects. So audit your network assets. So former colleagues in the industry, LinkedIn connections, email database, current business contacts, industry associations, professional networks, and just send them this simple message, man. Doesn't need to be crazy. Hey name, hey Jason, I'm opening the doors for 5 businesses to work with me to identify AI opportunities that could save them 100K plus annually. I've made it easy to get started with a comprehensive audit for X, or you could even just, leave it with, are you interested in learning more, right? And then you are going to be booking calls and jumping onto them and we'll speak to them about that. So this is what the menu is going to look like for you as a Vibe consultant. So growing your audit business through the core Vibe audit is your focus on building long-term value. But having a menu of additional services helps smooth cash flow and provides multiple entry points. So for Vibe consultants, selling workshops and audits are the simplest and highest value offers that you can make. And then also off menu, you've got obviously your partnerships, ongoing consulting, like there's a bunch of other stuff that you can do that you can offer people to keep those relationships going long term. So the Vibe sales secrets. So an audit-driven model is driven by just that. It's audits, right? In the delivery of your audits, you create assets that can be used for future sales. This is an exercise in even more leverage, which is a core tenet of being a Vibe consultant, as we discussed at the very start, right? So you can just conduct discovery interviews, turn those insights into case studies and frameworks, use those case studies to attract new clients, and this is like this audit-driven flywheel. So I tell prospects I'm conducting an audit on AI opportunities, and they want to learn from the process. Clients get tremendous value from the audit. I build a growing library of case studies and frameworks, and new prospects see proof on the methodology. They can see it working and they can see the optimizations that are available. It's the most efficient business development system I've ever seen, period. So the rhythm is this: alternating between delivering audits once a month, marketing new audits the next, you can get a very sustainable business to that 500K. I'll be honest, as we discussed, look at McKinsey, look at Deloitte, look at Bain. These are all multi-billion-dollar organizations. I'm just doing the lowest rung promise I feel like I can, because this is totally attainable, as you can see by these numbers. But I genuinely think the upside of this model is there are going to be billion-dollar companies doing Vibe consulting in probably the next few years. So if you set up a solid Vibe consulting brand from the beginning, your pipeline will grow consistently through promotional rhythm. So these are the steps that you need to go through now. So 1, commit to the Vibe consulting identity by learning the audit methodology. Create a unique audit framework and validate it with your network. Complete your first paid audit, 5 to 10K, to prove the concept. Build case studies and refine your process based on real client work. Develop that partnership, right? So people can actually fulfill in it if you're not going to do it. Scale your audit prices to 25 to 50K and up, and keep going up. And then start creating content and becoming a thought leader in your space as the vibe consultant for whatever your industry and vertical is. And then you can build recurring revenue through consulting, optimization, and different partnerships. So are you ready to become a vibe consultant? The AI revolution is going to create the biggest consulting opportunity since the industrial revolution. The question isn't whether businesses need AI optimization. The question is whether you will be the one to provide it. So if this is interesting to you, get in touch, link down below, and I will see you on the other side.